We're closing in on Christmas, but before we talk about any Christmassy films, I wanted to get one last short review roundup out there. Hi, my name's Drew and welcome to another review video on Flying Wiener. In this case, a short review roundup, meaning I've chosen 3 properties that I want to talk about. In this case, all 3 of them are shows, and I'll be talking about them in a certain order. If you want to jump ahead to any of them, you've got the bar below at the screen that you can use to jump around with, or you've also got timestamps in the description if you want to skip ahead to any of them. Obviously, I would be very grateful if you watched all of them. They're not too long, that is why I do these things. I like to keep it nice and short, but try and cover as many things as possible. And this format allows me to do that. The 3 things I'll be talking about today is a Netflix anime series called Cyberpunk Edgerunners. The second one is Handmaid's Tale, which is a dystopian tale where humanity has got problems bearing children. That's a very, very abbreviated summary of it. And the third one I'm talking about is the 5th season of Cobra Kai. I've covered all of Cobra Kai up to now, and every time they release a new season, I'll talk about it, and that's what we're doing here. So that's the order we're going to talk about them in, so you can skip ahead if you want to. If you're sticking with me, thank you for that. And we are starting off with Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Now, if you can tell by my t-shirt, this is actually from Cyberpunk 2077. It's a computer game that came out roughly 2 years ago now. It was a very botched release. Unfortunately, they did not release the game in a finished state, so there were a lot of bugs. I fortunately did not experience many of them, so my my fun wasn't really hampered by that. I loved the story, the concept, the world. You've just got a huge cyberpunk city. Called Night City, and you can run around and do all these crazy things, augmented humans, whatever, and the best reason of all of them, Keanu Reeves is one of the main characters. I mean, come on, that's worth it. That's worth the price of admission alone, yeah? And they, with Netflix together, they made this anime series, and within 10 episodes, it's just a confined story, so there's just the 1 season. They've already confirmed they're not doing anything else. It really shows you this world of Cyberpunk 2077 really well. I just love cyberpunk themes, that's why I've also got this up here. If you're not familiar with that, shame on you, because you should have seen Blade Runner 2049. That's Ana de Armas. She plays Joy, which is a sort of AI companionship / relationship bot, I'll call it. And you can even see Ryan Gosling's K and his car if you look at the bottom. I just love the image, I love the lights, and Blade Runner 2049, if you haven't seen it, definitely go and watch it. You have to. It's one of the best films of the past few years, made by Denis Villeneuve, who because of that film, knew he would do a great job of shooting. Anyway, back to Cyberpunk. What is this about? We follow along this young kid. He is in the school where they're all about corporations, and he's kind of failing in this world where it's all about big corporations and making this money. And his mother dies, unfortunately, in an accident, and he turns, as many do in this world, to crime. And what you need to realize is many people augment themselves. They've got all sorts of mechanical parts, cybernetic parts, and all these things, so they can hack into stuff. They can obviously expand their physical capabilities. And that's what we see happening. He gets this exoskeleton that really makes his moves super fast. But we also see, and this is what I like about Cyberpunk, it's not just all great, because these things put a huge strain on your mind and body. And so while we see him rise in the world of crime, we also see his decline mentally, because his body cannot keep up with what is happening, all these augmentations. And that is mainly what I love Cyberpunk about, the game and the show now, because it really delves deep into that. It's got a really cool vibe. The animation is incredible. The music's hit and miss at times. I mean, I like the most of it, but sometimes they make weird choices, as they do in Asian shows. I've talked about that in a few previous ones on Netflix. I don't know, there's something quite hit and miss about the music there. So if you like stories, dystopian future, what would humanity do when they have the ability to play God and just change themselves, what they look like, anything about them, change their voices, just anything you can think of is possible. And if you like those themes, I really recommend the game. Now, they've obviously done a lot over the past 2 years to sort of patch it everywhere, and I haven't played it since then, but I enjoyed the heck out of it the first time around. But you should really look at it, because I'm sure it won't cost that much nowadays, and it's got so much content. And again, Keanu Reeves is one of the main characters, and that is just really cool. Moving on to The Handmaid's Tale now. If you're not familiar, it's actually based on a novel which came out in 1985, written by Margaret Atwood. She also served as a producer on the show. There are 5 seasons out there. I've watched all of them up to now. I am still enjoying it a lot. The really short version of the story is that the world has changed quite a lot because humanity I believe, I've even forgotten, it's been so long since I watched the first series, but I think it's through just environmental changes and pollution and all these kind of things that humanity has actually lost a largely lost the ability to bear children. And America itself, the USA, they had a civil war, and now they're actually the nation of Gilead, it's called. It's a very religious setting that we are in, and they with the religion, they combine this idea that you know, if they live very piously and all these things, that they will eventually get children. And they also have this system where young women who seem very fertile, they are so-called handmaids. That's where the name comes from, and they are just given to families to try and make children with. And so this is who we're focused on, mainly the handmaids, of course, but we're focused on a woman called June Osborne. She's played by Elizabeth Moss, and she is also named of Fred because the handmaids, they get the prefix of and then the first name of their commander, as they are called, these heads of the families. And in this case, the name is Fred Waterford, so she is of Fred. He is played by Joseph Fiennes. And so we see her story, we are focused on her. How does she exist in this world? How does this world work, and this is, I would say, in my opinion, this is the best I have seen in film and television, a story, focused on women. And it's just because obviously there are a lot of parallels to what we see today. It's not like we're living in a really gender equal society. I am unfortunately confronted with this idea regularly at work and other places, and it makes me sad really, because there's just no reason we shouldn't be equal. Then this obviously, drives this point home quite much, and obviously it's more than we have today, but still, you can see a lot of connections to today's world. And yeah, so it's a really interesting story. Now, there's not much that happens. So when you think about dystopia, we don't see any big wars, or you don't have machines coming in, eradicating the human race, all these things. It's not Terminator or anything like that. But it's very character driven, of course. So we're focused on not just June's story, but all the other handmaids. And you've got so many, it's really difficult to name all of them. But I mean, I was happy to see some of them recurring that I've seen in other things. You've got Alexis Bledel, for instance, of Gilmore Girls fame. I like her, so she was great in this show as well. Then I've got Samira Wiley, who I liked in Orange is the New Black. She is a friend of June's here, both before and after this situation occurs, before and after Gilead, this super state, this religious state where they have the handmaids. So I really like that as well. You also get to see the other stories. So these commanders, they have wives who are unable to bear children. And you see their tale as well. On the one hand, they have got a lot of power, of course, because they are really involved in the system. On the other hand, they are still sort of having to deal with having another woman in the house who, there's a lot of situations that arise here. And the main actor I would mention here is Yvonne Strahovski. She plays the wife of Commander Waterford, and so you get a lot of tension there and a lot of stories. You also see their side, that is also not ideal all the time, because they have a lot of struggles themselves as well. Obviously not as bad as the handmaids, but still, really, you get to see a lot of these things. We also see the world outside of Gilead, because June's former husband, he is still outside of Gilead. He actually lives in Canada, where the remains of the people from the U.S.A. reside in. And we also see a lot of what happens there, and he obviously tries to connect to June. They've also got a daughter together who is also in Gilead, so you've got a lot of stories that come out of that. And he is played by Oti Fagbenley, which I'm sure I've pronounced wrong. Sorry about that. Anyway, like I say, one of the most powerful stories I have seen that is centered on women, and I'll call it the female experience, which you can draw a lot of parallels to today's world from. I highly recommend it. Obviously, it's not an easy watch, because women are being basically enslaved here, and you get a lot of issues here. But I thought a really great show. It is really good, and the quality of acting, and it looks amazing, well worth your time. Now the last thing we're going to talk about is Cobra Kai Season 5. I've covered it before. I am a martial artist, if you're not aware. So, you know, for me it's particularly interesting. And while they've had a really good ride, because when you think about the story of Karate Kid, it's not that deep. But they have managed to pull out quite a lot from it and made a really interesting show. It also helps that the episodes are only like half an hour long, so they definitely don't overstay, you know, their welcome. And it was really interesting because for the first half of the 5th season now, I thought they were getting on really well. You've got Thomas Ian Griffith's Terry Silver, who came in the past season, and he is now the main focus, you know, he's the main villain. And the first 5 episodes were really interesting, and I could see, okay, you know, they are again reinventing it a bit, because the goodies are also getting support from Yuji Okamoto, who plays Chosen Toguchi, who we know from the second Karate Kid film. You know, they keep bringing in all these nostalgic things, which worked really well in the show. So the first half of this season was really good. I was like, okay, this is really great, and you know, this is quite different. The second half, it kind of falls apart a bit, and we sort of delve into the stuff that we've had in previous seasons, where it feels very repetitive and quite silly at times, where these kids, you know, they get into fights in water parks and just any opportunity they're trying to beat each other up, and it got a bit silly. And even towards the end, you know, I felt a bit disappointed by that, because the first half really good, the second one it kind of falls off a bit. So I'm not sure whether the 6th season is going to be the final one. I do kind of hope so, because I really feel that this train is gradually losing steam. You know, it's a really good overall package. And while I like Ralph Macchio, you know, as Daniel LaRusso, he's still very good, and his acting is among the worst in the whole series. That's my honest opinion. And he doesn't seem to be taking any martial arts classes, because even his movements look very wooden, you know, uninspired. But then you have William Zabka, who plays Johnny Lawrence, who was his rival in Karate Kid, and he is great. You know, while I don't agree with Johnny's philosophy when it comes to martial arts particularly, he is easily the best character, at least when it comes to these legacy characters from the Karate Kid series. He is great, and the actor is great, and he's putting in some work, because his moves, they look okay, I will say that, you know, and it's really good. All of these old guys, I mean, a lot of editing going on, but you know, it's fine, it's okay. So I quite like that. It's still good, I still recommend to watch the whole thing, but like I say, to me, the second half of it just didn't keep up with the first one. So let's hope that the 6th one goes out with a bang, and they leave it at that, because then overall, really good martial arts series, I would say. That is all from me today. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe. It is the best way to support this channel. Leave a comment down below about any of the things I talked about, you know, Cyberpunk, Edgerunners, or the game. Handmaid's Tale, have you read the book? You know, how does that hold up? Did they take a lot of liberties with the story? I don't know, I haven't read the book myself, I must say. And Cobra Kai Season 5, of course, if you're a fan of that. Did you feel similar, that, you know, they're going up and down with their quality a bit in this one? You know, let me know any of that in the comments down below. I'll thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video on Flying Wiener. Take care.